Hi, McKenna. It's nice to see you again. How are you?
Doing okay.
I know it's been a while since we've seen each other last, but if you don't mind, can I just get a little bit of an update on maybe what's going on or maybe some things that have been going on recently?
I haven't used anything, I don't think, since we've met last, and I've had a couple visits, and they seem to be going well. We had court, but it got pushed out pending this whole situation and assessment, so it seems things are going well at the moment. I just don't like the fact of being like alone.
For sure. When you say alone, are you saying like without your significant other? Are you saying just kind of feeling alone in general with everything you have going on? Can you kind of explain a little more of that to me?
Because of the situation, we kind of have to be separate, like my significant other and I, as well as like not having our child. So overall, just kind of alone in the situation. And I mean, the county doesn't make it any easier. They kind of keep you separated as well. So I guess kind of overall,
I'm sorry that you're feeling that way. Are your two other children still in the house as well?
yes, it's just they have other family that they stay with too. It's not just like I have them full time. So when they're at the house, things are okay. It just doesn't feel whole. But when they go to their other family, it definitely is a bigger struggle.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Those are the times I struggle the most with not using.
Well, and I want to congratulate you because the last time I saw you, you were 25 days sober. And then, like you just said, you've been able to maintain that sobriety. So that's really wonderful. And I hope you're proud of yourself for that.
I am. It's just a work in progress, trying to navigate. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely been times where I've almost used. It's just having to maintain that so that I can keep my visits.
Hmm. So would you say that the visitations and seeing Luca and everything else is like a strong motivation for you not to use?
Right now, yes, as long as things, as bad as it sounds, as long as things stay going the way that they are, it's definitely motivation. But if things start to go bad, I'm definitely going to probably want to use more.
I think, that's completely understandable, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. Um, I know in the before at our last session, we kind of talked about some of the things that had stemmed from the using, or, even some of the challenges you have when you're not using, which is the anxiety and depression. Do you mind kind of talking to me a little bit about that, or um, would you say those are some triggers for you?
Talking to you in regards to what, like how it is right now, or where it began, or what are you asking?
I guess all like maybe where it began, but also more, what are some of the things that make you feel anxious? What are some of the things that kind of, make you feel depressed where you typically would use and kind of, um, supplement that and mask those feelings a little bit?
Growing up, it was really rough, so I kind of left home early, which led me to being alone with very little friends because I kind of moved to an all new area. So that's really where it stems from. So right now, the whole every so often being alone because the kids aren't here or not having my child and feeling like I'm failing them is really where comes from. The anxiety is just the unknowing factor.
For sure. And, the thing that, I like. I like that you said the unknown is kind of what is causing you the anxiety, because there really is a lot right now that, is kind of going through the process. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made, but not knowing kind of where, what's going to happen is going to impact you, long term as far as with your kids and everything else. So that can be really overwhelming, I'm sure.
Most definitely. Just trying to navigate it all and make sure I don't want to say jumping through all the hoops that need to be jumped through, but in a way, yeah.
So would you say that if we were focusing on the anxiety and depression and working through that, that would kind of help with some of the urgency, or maybe some of the um, reasons to want to use?
Yeah, I mean, the using kind of became like the strongest coping skill that I had because it just covered everything else up.
For sure. I appreciate you sharing that with me. So, kind of what I wanted to do today is focus on moving forward in treatment and establishing some goals. Obviously, I want to make sure that these goals are catering to what you want out of therapy and kind of what you want in life in general. So, if you had an overarching goal, and it could be multiple goals, but let's just focus on one for now. If you had an overarching goal of where you kind of maybe want life to be, or something that you kind of foresee like in the future, what do you think that would be?
Mm, I think first and foremost would definitely be like maintaining my sobriety, but second would definitely be like having my family whole again and figuring out how to navigate keeping it that way.
Okay. Now, when you say your family, are you talking specifically with your significant other and your kids, or are you talking more um, your extended family as far as your parents and your siblings or that kind of thing?
More my yeah, like my kids and my significant other. I haven't really talked to my family in a long time.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that last time too.
Something that I've just kind of come to terms with and I'm okay with because it's easier to cut the ties than it is to try and mend everything that was broken.
Okay. And I think that's completely, understandable that you're feeling that way with everything that you went through. And I know you said it was really rough kind of growing up and having to be independent very early on. But it seems to me that, with what you just shared, that family is a very strong value for you despite what you went through when you were growing up.
Just trying to give the kids something different than I had, but got caught up with the bad habit rather than learning to cope the way that I should have.
For sure. So, with that goal being to bring the family together and kind of, since we're already on that topic, I know your number one was the maintaining the sobriety, but focusing on the family itself, um, what would you say are some of the steps or maybe objectives that um, would help you reach that goal? What are some of the things that we can put in place that'll help you keep your family together?
First and foremost, I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with the other one.
Okay.
And even start mending that process, I have to maintain my sobriety. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Learning effective coping skills for sure, and just kind of going from there and facing things as they go and being okay with the fact that my children do have other family and going with them.
Mm-hmm. Now, what other family are they visiting throughout that time?
They're like their paternal grandparents, their dad's family.
Okay. How often are they with them?
Every other weekend.
Okay. Would you say you have a good relationship with his parents?
When it comes to the children, yes.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Is there circumstances where it's not so good?
We just don't see eye to eye.
Okay.
They want to see the kids, and that's really what kind of matters, keeping the kids with their family.
All right. So were you able to come into an agreement with them as far as the visitation and seeing them every other weekend?
Yeah, that was something that we agreed upon. They wanted it
Okay.
a little more frequently, but due to wanting to not be alone, they just kind of agreed with what I said.
Okay.
Allowing them to see their family more in the end would be okay. It's just something I have to be okay with. That trust factor. Like, I know they want to see their grandchildren, but at the same time, I have to be able to trust them too. And it's there, obviously, because I let them take them, but it's just, it definitely could use work.
What do you think are some of the things that are causing you to hesitate with trusting them?
My own family.
Your own family. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Like, growing up, things were difficult with my family. They would say and do two different things, and they weren't always the most positive influences to have around.
So do you feel like some of those experiences that you had with your own kid or with your own parents is kind of transferring over to them where you're um, basing those thoughts and ideas on, somebody else?
Oh, most definitely. But my end goal is just to keep the kids safe. They haven't done anything to make them unsafe during their time, but that's the end goal, is to make sure the kids are having a good time and
Hmm.
are being safe.
Yeah. Well, I think you're, obviously a really great mom for wanting to keep them safe and making them a priority. Um, and it sounds like, some of the things that you went through are giving you some, for obvious reasons, giving you some concerns with trust. Um, but I'm happy to hear there hasn't really been any occurrence that has happened to, that has jeopardized their safety in the past.
No, when it comes to the kids, they truly want what's best for them. I mean, they would take them more if I would let them.
All right. So I appreciate you sharing that. And just to backtrack a little bit, I know we talked about your goals of having your family whole again, trying to maintain your sobriety, effective coping skills. Is there anything else you have in mind that might kind of help with that overarching goal?
No, I mean, that should be at least get us started. I mean, as we dig into other things, there might be more things that come up and surface. But overall, I mean, a lot of it stems from the anxiety factor and the trust factor from my childhood.
Mhm. Absolutely. So, and if you're okay with it, like I said, I want to make sure this is your plan, but some of what you're telling me right now when you're talking about effective coping skills, you're talking about with the anxiety and depression, correct?
That and the sobriety,
Okay,
because the using is a huge piece of that, because that's what I'm doing right now to cope. So if we can eliminate that factor.
absolutely. And I know there were a couple other things you mentioned last time that um, sometimes in the past it was hard for you to follow through with therapy. Do you feel like that's still a concern?
As long as we maintain the schedule that's around my visitations and things like that, we should be fine.
Okay.
And the Zoom factor helps too, to where we don't have to always meet in person.
Yeah, for sure. And if this format, is more helpful for you because I know one of your barriers was transportation as well. So if this format works, then, absolutely we'll continue to do it this way. Um, and another thing I wanted to check in on was the evaluation. Is there an update on that, or were you able to complete that? I know that was a concern for you last time.
It's more now just seeing what the recommendations are and when they get turned over to the judge and see what he recommends that I do.
So your portion of it is complete for the most part.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, congratulations. That's awesome. All right. The only other thing I kind of wanted to talk about really quick, as far as these objectives, I think they're great. Um, and we want to make sure that we're being able to track the progress that you're making. So if we could kind of, work together on something that is more like measurable so we can, see how you're doing with your progress. Um, I know these are kind of broad things, but how would you feel about starting out with like maybe learning 5 effective coping skills, or, if there's a certain number you have in mind that we can track it?
Considering the only coping skill that I really have right now is the substance use, a 5 might be a little much, but
Okay, sure.
definitely on the right track of things. Like end goal, that would be awesome, but short term wise,
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that and being honest. What do you think would be a realistic goal for you, or a realistic number for you?
maybe 2 or 3 to start off with.
Perfect. Okay. So we'll put, if it's okay with you, we'll put 2 down just to kind of get us started, if that's okay. All right. Wonderful. Okay. And maintaining sobriety. So I know you're already doing a great job um, at, what are you, more than 25 days now? Do you know how many days it's been now? I know that was last time.
Mm, about a month and a half. So we met like what, 2 weeks ago ish. So yeah, about a month and a half.
And a half. That is so wonderful. So would you say it's probably been like 40 days?
Give or take a couple.
Okay, perfect. So if we were going to extend that and make that into a measurable number, what do you think would be a good goal? How many days should we put down?
You just do another 2 weeks. I mean, that puts us to the next session.
Perfect. I love it. All right. So that would put us at 54 days. Awesome. Are you having any hesitations as of right now to making it to that 54?
No, we just got to take things like one step at a time and try not to worry as much.
Okay, perfect. And one more thing before we wrap it up today. How do you feel about homework assignments?
Depends on what they are.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair response. Okay. Um, I wanted to see, and this is something that doesn't have to necessarily be a daunting task, but just something to kind of give you some reflection and time for yourself. Um, would you feel comfortable um, utilizing like a journal or something, as far as writing in a journal every day?
About what? Like how my day went, or like struggles, or like coping skills that I've used. Like what are you trying to get out of it?
Whatever you feel like is going to be helpful for you. So would you say that writing about some of the um, struggles or successes or anything would be motivational to you in any way?
It might help process things a little bit.
I love that. Okay. So if you were going to write in a journal, what do you think the topic, or what do you think we should make um, the topics be, or topic? What would be most beneficial to you?
Probably to utilize it as like writing down my successes, like knowing that I'm craving and I didn't use, kind of thing. Use it more as like a positive piece.
Perfect. Okay. Do you think that's something that um, we can have you do until the next time I see you for in the next 2 weeks, writing
I,
a daily journal entry?
I can try. It may
Okay.
not stay on the task, but I can try.
That's okay. That's okay. I appreciate the effort and um, even if it's 2 or 3 or 10 responses, it's something we can kind of go back and reflect on and discuss together. Okay. Do you have any questions or anything that you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up?
No,
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I'm very proud of you. I feel like you have been making a lot of positive progress, and I'm sure it hasn't been easy, but I'm here for you if you need anything.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye, McKenna.